On Friday night, President Donald Trump issued an executive order that strikes at the very heart of our democracy. I wish that I were exaggerating. I wish that this were some sort of a game, but the ban that imposes religious tests and keeps refugees and immigrants from entering our country is illegal. It is unconstitutional, it is immoral, and it must be overturned. The effects of this order were immediate and terrifying for people in Massachusetts and all across this country. My office got a call from an Iranian citizen who was traveling to Massachusetts to see his daughter, who is currently receiving treatment for cancer. He was denied boarding in Germany and sent back to Iran. We heard from a woman who already has an approved immigrant visa, but still hasn't found an airline that will allow her to board a flight to the United States. And a Massachusetts resident called because her cousin, who holds a student visa, was not allowed to board a flight either. Another Massachusetts resident called because her Iranian sisters were denied boarding at London Heathrow. Both have their valid J-1 visas. One is a visiting professor at Harvard, and the other is a postdoc fellow at Harvard Medical. We heard from an Iranian student who is studying at MIT. She was denied entry on Saturday, and when she tried to return on Sunday, after the temporary stay had been issued, she was denied boarding by Lufthansa. And a Massachusetts student on a student visa called because his wife was denied boarding in Switzerland. You know, none of these people are criminals. None of these people are threats. They're students at some of the world's top universities. They're doctors and scientists at some of the country's best hospitals. Most of them have already been vetted and granted the right to come to America. One is a father who wants to see his cancer-stricken daughter. They are husbands and wives, mothers and fathers, sisters and brothers, friends and neighbors. They are people. They are real people. They are part of what makes Massachusetts great, and they are part of what makes America great. Donald Trump's radical ban on Muslims isn't in line with American values or with our Constitution. It is also not in line with what the Republican Party stands for. In the months following the attacks of September 11th, President George W. Bush made a point to remind the United States that we were not at war against Islam. In a speech in April of 2002, he said, and I want to quote here, "America rejects bigotry. We reject every act of hatred against people of Arab background or Muslim faith. America values and welcomes peaceful people of all faiths, Christian, Jewish, Muslim, Sikh, Hindu, and many others. Every faith is practiced and protected here because we are one country. Every immigrant can be fully and equally American because we are one country. Race and color should not divide us because America is one country." Do Senate Republicans agree? If so, then come down here and say so. Where are you? Where are Senate Republicans when their Republican president issues an order targeting one religious group? Let's be clear about what happened here. Keeping the details secret, working with a small group of operatives inside the White House, consulting no experts in diplomacy, security, and getting advice from outsiders with no actual legal authority, President Trump acted unilaterally to issue this order. And make no mistake, while it may not affect every Muslim in the world, Donald Trump's executive order is a Muslim ban, and it is unconstitutional. This is a crisis. The Senate should take up and pass Senator Feinstein's bill to overturn this illegal order right now. What's happening is shocking. It is shocking, but it is not surprising. Donald Trump is doing exactly what he said he was going to do. During his presidential campaign, he promised, and I quote, "a total and complete shutdown of Muslims entering the United States." That's what he said. And last year, it seemed like pretty much everyone agreed that this was not acceptable in the United States of America. Speaker Paul Ryan declared that, quote, "A religious test for entering our country is not reflective of America's fundamental values. I reject it." So where are you now, Paul Ryan? Have you rejected President Trump's order to impose a religious test for entering our country? Have you introduced a bill to overturn it? You have the power. Where are you? As governor of Indiana, Vice President Mike Pence said that, quote, "Calls to ban Muslims from entering the U.S. are offensive and unconstitutional." So where are you right now, Vice President Pence? Have you called to overturn President Trump's offensive and unconstitutional order? Have you asked Republicans to introduce a bill to overturn it? You have a platform. Where are you? And Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell called a Muslim ban, quote, "completely and totally inconsistent with American values." So where are you right now, Mitch McConnell? Have you rejected President Trump's Muslim ban that is completely and totally inconsistent with American values? Have you introduced a bill to overturn it? You have the power. Where are you? President Trump ignored these Republican leaders, and today, these Republican leaders will not stand up for what is right. President Trump may be willing to ignore the Constitution and the laws of the United States of America. And the Republican leadership in Congress may be willing to ignore the Constitution and the laws of the United States of America, but the American people are not. This weekend, Americans across this country came together to reject this sort of fear and hate. The American people showed courage, even as the Republican leadership hid out. Crowds of people raced to airports across this country to welcome immigrants and refugees and to demand compliance with court rulings that gave individuals and families temporary relief, and to demand that this reckless order be rescinded. I was proud to stand with hundreds of people at Logan Airport in Boston on Saturday night, and then with more than 20,000 people in Copley Square on Sunday. We had one of the biggest demonstrations in the country. I also want to say I am in awe of the hundreds of lawyers and translators who dropped everything and spent sleepless nights in airport terminals and courts fighting for justice. Because of their tireless work, we have already been able to undo some of the damage caused by President Trump. Now, while I am encouraged by our victories in the courts this weekend, the Trump administration has derided these judges and in some instances refused to follow these orders. This is shocking and unconstitutional. Congress must act. We must act now. Congress must stand up and say to President Trump that this is not who we are. Congress must say to Donald Trump and to the world, we will not turn our backs on lawful immigrants and refugees fleeing murderers. We will not turn our backs on people who risk their own lives to protect our soldiers in Iraq and in the fight against ISIS. We will not give recruiting material. We will not promote an imagined religious war between America and Islam. We will stand for our values, for American values, for human values. We will not be divided by hate and fear.